I just realised that I recorded this entire video without my light on, so apologies for the lighting in this video. I haven't been feeling very well, and this is actually the second time I've recorded this. The first time I didn't press start, and I literally only found out after I turned my light off again and everything, so please forgive me. Oh. Hello, welcome back to my channel. This month of October I have been doing a sort of reading challenge where I only read books by Black authors. And now it's coming to a conclusion. I want to do a wrap up. It is the 30th, so I do technically have one and some days left, so this might not end up being all the books I read. But if I do read another book, I might add a little clip somewhere. This week so far I have read 2 books. They have been Cursed Daughters by Yinkin Braithwaite and Make Me a Monster by Calin Bayron. But first I want to talk to you about my MCM Comic Con book haul. I know a couple of weeks ago I did a video that included a mini book haul, and it was just 2 books that ended up coming in 2 separate packages, which sort of wasn't what I planned. That's because that's the amount of books that I normally buy at one time. Yeah, it's kind of rivaling my stack of books on the, on the side over there. I didn't buy all of these myself. In fact, one of them was completely free. But let's go over it. It's by 3 authors. That's all, just 3 authors, this stack of 11 books. First, I have this entire series by Mark Stay, who is an indie author. He goes to pretty much every London Comic Con, I think. At least he's there quite a lot. And he does also have some of his books available on Waterstones and probably other bookshops. I don't know, I didn't ask in detail, I just know that Waterstones sells some of his books. He's sometimes part of panels, and he was part of a panel that I attended about how to go about indie publishing, whether it's right for you and what to do and all that sort of stuff. Clearly he's very successful at it. This series follows witchcraft and stuff. Oh, it's falling over. So this one is the first one, and this is the only one I know properly what happens in it. Well, not properly. I haven't read any of them. Where there are these scarecrow people, the crow folk, who are like the bad guys, and I think the main character is just learning that she's a witch. Oh, it's doing 1940, it says down here as well. It says rationing, blackouts, and witchcraft. The 4th one in this set, The Holly King, is apparently a Christmas one, so that should be interesting. And then also by Mark Stay is The End of Magic and The End of Dragons, which is basically magic is dying, but they need magic, sort of thing. And this is going to be a trilogy, I believe, and the other one's out either early next year or late this year. I can't remember which, but he said it'll be available in bookstores. And if you go to a future MCM, it'll be there. And he said that the only benefit of getting it from MCM is basically that then he can sign it. Well, I would argue he did some MCM exclusive deals on these. So the entire series had some money off. So if you want to buy the entire series, then MCM might make more sense. If you're only going to buy books, that wouldn't make sense. I mean, if you're only going to buy his books. Moving on to a different author, there is this series, this trilogy, by Gabby Hutchinson Crouch. I honestly can't remember what the series is about, but she does fantasy with a bit of comedy and stuff. She has 2 series that are complete and one that's partway through, and I decided I'll probably just get 1 series for now because I just got 7 books from Mark Stay, literally like across the aisle, and I was like, can't really justify getting another, how many would that be, 8? So I just got 3. This is the first trilogy that she wrote, because I thought I'll start with the first trilogy that she wrote and then move on to other ones if I enjoy them. She did say that one of her books, I can't remember whether it was one of these or one of her other trilogies, but she really sort of makes fun and overdoes the romance trope that is there's only one bed. For those of you who don't know, there's a lot of romance where it's like yearning and they want to be together but they don't want to be together and that sort of thing. Whether they're travelling and they go to a hotel and oops, there's only 1 room left, and oops, there's only 1 bed in the room. And she apparently has one where that happens everywhere they stay and it becomes a running joke. So I think this will be a lot of fun, just the way that she was talking and the way she was describing the sort of things she writes. I think this is going to be really up my alley. The last one of my book haul is Salt Swept by Catalina Watt. This is the free one. This, also it's super floppy, look at that. Not super floppy, but yeah, it's super floppy, look at that. This is a proof copy, which I believe is the same thing as an ARC, which is advanced reader copy, but I'm not sure. This means it's not for resale or quotation, so if I do a video on this, I can't quote it. I am a little concerned about reading this for one reason, and one reason only. I was going to show you, but I'm not sure if I can. I probably can, but I don't want to risk it. There are 2 pages at the front of this that just say map on it. I love me a book with a map in it because I can look at the map and I can understand where things are going, where people are. And I'm worried that if it's a book that has a map in it and I don't have the map, I'm going to get confused, because a lot of the time when things have a map, it's to better understand the story. Yeah. A ragtag crew, a perilous quest. First they need a boat, next they need to learn how to sail it. That's all I know. It's that and it's epic fantasy. That is literally all I know. So women was walking around with a bag of proof copies, and one of them was Never Ever After. I can't remember what another one is. The people in front of us in the queue weren't queuing for this, but we were queuing for something else. This woman was walking up the queue to offer people in. The people in front of us, 2 people got Never Ever After, and one of them got something else as well. And I got this because I was asked, what genre do you read? And I'm like, any genre, basically. She's like, okay, how about this one? Which makes me wonder whether this isn't a popular one. Or what, but I'm excited. It will come out in February 2026, so I might read this closer to that date, but we'll see. Right, back to this month. I mean, that was this month, but back to my reads from this month. I read Cursed Daughters over the span of 4 days. It took me 281 minutes, which is about 4.68 hours. So it's a reasonably short book, or at least took me a reasonably short amount of time. It's big font and it's fun to read, basically. Cursed Daughters follows the tale of a family that one of them long ago was cursed so that her and all of her descendants... Well, let me just read the curse. It's a bit like Practical Magic, the film. I don't know about the books. I haven't read the books, so I don't know how similar they are. So the curse in Practical Magic, the film, not necessarily the book, I haven't read the book, is basically that whenever they fall in love with a man, the man will die. It's been a while since I've watched the film, so I can't remember exactly, but it wasn't intended to be a curse. It was someone in the family line did some sort of spell to, like, so she didn't have a broken heart or something. I can't remember. And it ended up going through the family line into a curse. But in Cursed Daughters, it's this. I'm not going to give you any reason why they get cursed, but I'm just going to read the words of the curse. No man will call your house home, and if they try, they will not have peace. Your daughters are cursed. They will pursue men, but the men will be like water in their palms. Your granddaughters will love in vain. Your great-granddaughters will labour for acknowledgement. They will fall short of other women. Your daughters, daughters, and all the women to come will suffer for man's sake. So it's pretty harsh, but at least the men don't have to die for it. This goes through different timelines. There's a family tree in the front, and it mostly revolves around the people who are not faded out. It goes a little bit from different people's perspectives, and especially when it goes between the timelines, there's some that's like 1994 and some that's 2000 and stuff like that. And I think it was really good. I liked all the characters. At least as characters, there are some I don't think I'd like to be friends with them. But they develop well throughout the book, and not just in the sense of we're going from one timeline to the other and oh look how well they've developed, which was what it was a lot of the time with Kindred, which isn't necessarily a bad thing for Kindred, especially with the way that's written, but this isn't like that, and it could have been like that, and it's not. You can see the characters develop in real time, and it was really good. It's set in Nigeria, but some of them are British, or at least they lived in Britain for some time. I'm not sure whether they were born there, but it's set in Nigeria. I don't think there are any scenes not in Nigeria. Maybe there were. I can't remember. I've read an entire book since then, so it's a little like water in my hands. I rated this because I already thought about the rating. I rated it a 4.5, I think. Or was it a 4? I can't remember, but I know this will stick with me for a long time, and I am so glad I read it. This is Yinkin Braithwaite's second book. It says in the acknowledgements that her father was like, it's been a while since you put out your debut book, and she was like, fine, I'll finally write this book, and here it is, and it's lovely, and I recommend it. It's almost entirely about women because they're cursed daughters, and there aren't many men in their life because of the curse. So if you're not into that, then you might not want it, but it's really good. I don't want to spoil it at all, like at all, but you find out something in the very beginning, in the prologue, that then all throughout you're like, how does that happen? Why does that happen? And there's the mystery through there, and it was really good. There are a few bits that it's like, well, obviously that's going to be like that, but I didn't hate it. It was fine. And it wasn't one of those where the character should really be able to tell this, because no, if you're living that, you don't see that, but seeing it in a book, you know. Moving on to Make Me a Monster, I read this yesterday, start to finish. It took me 268 minutes, which is 4.46 recurring hours. And that's about how long it took me to read Cinderella is Dead as well. It's also the first book I've read with a sprayed edge, and I thought it'd just, like, mean nothing while reading, but it actually felt really special, because I could see the flowers still while it was going, and I really liked it. I really liked that aspect of it. I liked the book as well, to be clear. I really liked the book as well. Otherwise I wouldn't have read it in one day, would I? It's a young adult book. There's some mild swearing in it, but the character gets scolded for it, so it's not like that, and there's not any... I mean, it's young adult, you know, there's not... Yeah. It's a Frankenstein retelling in the same way Cinderella's Dead is a Cinderella retelling, or similar to that at least. The main characters live and work in a funeral home. The very main character, whose perspective it's from, is a 17-year-old girl, and it follows her friends a little bit as well, who really don't like dead bodies and stuff, but they love her anyway. And she's like, I'm a bit weird. And there is a little theory that I had at about page 20, which I recorded a clip of me saying the theory. I was going to add it here and then be like, but I'm not going to tell you whether it's true or not. But then I thought about it, and especially since it turned out to be true, I was like, if people see that, they might expect that, and then it might not be as fun. So I'll leave that theory out, but I was right. I wasn't sure how it was going to end though, and I was sort of like, I don't know how this can end with a nice conclusion, and I think the ending worked really well, and I'm very glad that I bought this book, and it's made me excited to read the other book by her, or books by her, that I have on my reading plans at some point. So yay! There was one mild error that wasn't even as bad as the one I mentioned in the Midnight Library one, where she sits down and then less than a paragraph later she's just standing there. It was something like, this person doesn't know this, and then later, where we haven't had a break in the scene, that person shows that they do know that thing, and it's sort of like, well, clearly it was probably in that conversation that the person found that out, and then it got edited out and it didn't get corrected. That is a mild error, and it doesn't spoil the story at all. It was just like, alright. There are also a few little errors where there's not a second quotation mark and stuff like that, but minor errors that doesn't affect the story. I can't give this 5 stars. I didn't have the feeling that I wanted to immediately read it again straight afterwards, and there are some errors in it. Mild errors, but I mean, my original thing was, for a 5-star, it has to be that I want to read it again straight away, but Kindred sort of broke that a bit because I didn't have that feeling, but I had no criticisms, so I couldn't not give it a 5-star. With that in mind, I think I'll rate this 4.5. If you don't like young adult, you probably won't enjoy this. If you don't like retellings of old stories, then you probably won't like this. If you don't like stories that you can easily predict anything in it, maybe give it a miss. But I really enjoyed it, obviously. Now, elephant in the room. There are 2 days left of October. I've run out of books. What am I going to do? What am I going to do for those 2 days left of October where I don't have any books that follow that rule? Well, I have managed to find a Yukon Braithwaite's debut book, My Sister the Serial Killer, on Libby, and I have borrowed it, and I will be reading that. And that's something that sort of slightly breaks the rules, because I had heard of it before and I did want to read it before. But I mean, Callan Bayron slightly breaks the rules because I'd read one of her books before and that wasn't the idea of it. So, you know, it's okay. I also do still have How to Find a Princess borrowed by Alyssa Cole, but because I didn't really like How to Catch a Queen, I'm sort of like, only if I have time left after running out of book. And finally, on to my reading plans for November. Well, I think I'm going to have quite a witchy November. For about 6 months now, I've been planning on reading Wicked in November because part 2 of the film comes out on the 21st, and I want to do a little comparison on it. I haven't read this since I was like 16, when I cared less about the damage to spine, which you can't see because it's black, but there are lines down it quite a lot. And I'm thinking I'll do a comparison video between this and the film/musical, which so far, based on the part 1 of the film, it's pretty in keeping with the musical. So yeah. Continuing with the witchy theme, I have Rewitched and Uncharmed by Lucy Jane Wood. Both of them have a cool sprayed edge. And I hope I'll really like them. And she said she'd hope I really like them because she was at MCM Comic Con, and that was actually the line I was in when I got given this, to get it signed. And I said to her, I haven't actually read it yet, but I bought Uncharmed because I know I'll really like this, and therefore I'll really like Uncharmed. And she was like, that's pressure. I hope you do. So, yeah, you can expect videos on that probably coming up. I also have Hooked and other Emily McIntyre books that a friend of mine lent me. I don't really know fully what they're about, but I know they're Twisted Tales types of thing. And the one after this, they're not a series, they're standalones, I believe. And the one after this, because I'm still reading them in published order, it's called Scarred, and it has a really nice version at MCM Comic Con, and I was like, I'm not going to buy it, but if I do like the book, I'm going to buy that because it was gorgeous. Other than that, I do have a cat book, sort of slightly in theme with witches. Will Prescribe You a Cat, which I bought quite a while ago, but I had so many other books to read that I read those books, and yeah. There is another cat book that I was going to put on my November reading list, but it's called The Midwinter's Tale, and I misremembered. I thought it said The Midnight's Tale, and I thought, all great, and Midwinter, I think I'll save it for December, but we'll see. That's also one that I got from an MCM, but not this year. It was probably like 3 years ago. It's one of the ones that I got thinking, I really like this book, maybe it'll get me back into reading, and it didn't. But clearly I am back into reading now. And you might have guessed it, I've got The Crowfolk to read, which is also witchy. I'm planning on reading this series probably before I read other series that I got, and then the Gabby Hutchinson Crouch series as well. So that's a lot of books. Obviously I don't expect to read all of them in November, especially since there are a lot of Emily McIntyre books. I also have the first sequel of Wicked, which is Son of a Witch, and I have Elfie, which is a prequel that I don't know whether I should read at the end of the 4 books of Wicked or not. I haven't actually read the second book, which is Son of a Witch, because I wanted to reread this book first, but it's heavily political, and I was like 17, and I'd only just read it like a year or two previously, and I was like, not right now. And that never happened. So I have shown you basically 10 that are on my list for November, but I don't expect to do all of them in November. The 4th book in this series is actually a Christmas special, so I'm thinking about doing this more towards the end of November, or maybe even saving it for December. We will see. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe if you did, or at least subscribe if you liked this video and another video. Most of my watchers aren't subscribed, which I hear YouTubers say all the time, but I look at my analytics and there was one that I was like, oh, none of these people have subscribed to me that watched me. I mean, I appreciate people watching me anyway, but it was just sort of like, oh, okay. Please let me know if you've read any of these books, if you want to read any of these books, how your October reading went, and whether you have plans for November. So I forgot a couple of things, just totally on brand for me. There are a couple of series that I was partway through when October started that I couldn't continue, which were both audiobooks, which is, the next one is Final Gambit from the Inheritance Game series and Iron Flame in the Fourth Wing series, which I think both those series have a specific name for them in the way that there's like the Golden Compass series is called His Dark Materials and stuff. But I don't know what they are. I also wanted to give a conclusion of what I have learnt from this month of doing this Black History Month challenge thing, and there are a couple of things. One, if Ruki recommends me a book, read it. 2, don't keep going with all the trends of books, because I've been feeling like I need to read these books that people have been reading for the past few years that have been popular on TikTok and stuff that I haven't read because I was in a reading slump, and they're not necessarily all that good. And if I read some ones that are recommended by actual bookstores, they might be better. There's also one other thing for reading plans, which isn't necessarily November, but Waterstones has released their shortlist for Book of the Year, and there are a few on there that I've been thinking about picking up, and I feel like maybe I should read some of those. That's all. Thank you for sticking around for this little bit. You can be rewarded with some bloopers. I read for... There's a family tree at the front, and it mostly... It took me 268 minutes, also known as 4. Maybe you'll see me in the next one. Until then, bye.